Hey there, how are you today? My name is Deandra and I'm with Coffee with the Kazies. I wanted to talk today about mental health. It's become more and more a kind of flashy word that people are talking about constantly over and over. And sometimes it's done with good intentions, and other times it could just be propaganda to promote pharmaceutical drugs. And the pharmaceutical drugs, they need to make more money, right? And sometimes those drugs have side effects with death and suicide. And so there needs to be a lot of caution in all of that. And there needs to be a lot of awareness. And one of the things is I wanted to share with you my story in my mental health and my journey when it comes to depression and suicide and fear and thoughts of those natures. So in my probably late teenage years and early 20s, my friend and I, we used to experiment with herbs. And I'm not, I mean, some of those herbs that you think of, but we also would go to like the health store. There was this Chinese medicine herbalist that we would go to, and we would walk around and look at all these natural herbs, the kind of herbs that God gave us for our bodies. And we would ask him, like, hey, what can give us energy? Like, we just somehow wanted all this energy, and he would say, like, oh, this herb over here, or, if you take chromium, that'll give you lots of energy, and chromium is a mineral. It can help people with blood sugar and stuff. And one of the things that we started noticing is that anytime we would take it, like, yeah, we would have all this energy one day, but the next day we started realizing, like, we would be crying our eyes out just for no reason. We would be like, I feel sad today. Yeah, I feel sad too. And we would just start crying, and like we would make up reasons to be sad, and it would just make us like emotional and sad and just cry. And we had no idea. And then we started putting two and two together. Hey, remember we took chromium on this day, and the next day we started feeling sad and crying. And so we started putting this correlation together. And I think that's key in our life, is that a lot of times there could be a reason behind our feelings and our emotions. And once I found that out, then we knew, okay, if we take chromium and it gives us lots of energy, the next day we're going to be super sad. And so we weighed our risk, our risk factor if we were going to take it. And so anytime that we did take it, we knew the next day if we were sad, it was because of that. So fast forward about maybe 2 or 3 years later, I started noticing that one of the things that I tend to do is when I would start getting sad or something, I would eat popcorn, or I would eat ice cream, or, have my little binges and turn to food. If I was sad, about my boyfriend wasn't, we broke up, or he wasn't calling me anymore, or whatever. And so I started realizing that, there would be moments where I would just be so sad and so depressed, and like I didn't want to live anymore. I would have these thoughts where I didn't want to live anymore, and I just was done with my life. Like there was no meaning in life, like there was no purpose, like why am I here? And as I started getting these thoughts and these thought processes, I'm a Christian and I believe in God, and I believe that He has a purpose and a plan for all of our lives. And I believe that as we have faith in Him, it gives us hope, and it fills us with love. It fills us with joy and peace. And so whenever I would go through the spiral of depression and sadness and tears, I would think, this is weird. Like, why am I getting these emotions and these feelings when yesterday I had so much, maybe I went to church the day before and I was like filled with, the Holy Spirit, and I was so joyous and so peaceful. And then the next day I was feeling this depression, and there came a time where I finally realized where it was coming from. And it was maybe the night before I decided to have a bowl of popcorn, or the day before I had some corn chips. I'm Mexican, right? Half Mexican. And I was raised on corn. And so a lot of the Mexican dishes is corn tortillas, corn chips. My mom loves to make salsa. She makes the best salsa. And so it's always corn chips and salsa. And so a lot of times if we had those meals, the next day I would seriously be on a spiral of depression and sadness. And I would feel like, I didn't want to live anymore. I would feel like there's no purpose in life. I would feel like, nobody likes me. I don't have any boyfriends. Like, there's no purpose for me to go on and live. And all of a sudden, God was the one actually that started revealing to me that, hey, whenever you eat these corn chips, the next day you're feeling sad. And as I started learning and studying and researching about food, that's when I learned that the majority of the corn products that are on the market are made from genetically modified organisms. And the way that they switch these, the way that they create the genetically modified organism is in a lab, and they change the genetic code, the DNA, so that they can spray more pesticides on these corn as they're harvesting them. And so the majority of these have high amounts of glyphosate. They have high amounts of pesticides. And so when you're eating the end product, you're actually ingesting an incredibly large amount of pesticides. And with that is going to cause a side effect. And so different people are going to have different reactions. Some people might get migraines and headaches, and some people, it might just start that depressive cascading effect in your mind where all you can think of that you have no purpose to live, that there's nothing worth living for. And that can cause your mind to fall down this mental health depression and this road of suicide, this road of fear, and cause you to have those type of mental, breakdowns. And so once I feel like God revealed that to me, I decided to stop eating that food altogether. And years later, now we only eat an all organic lifestyle. And so we actually have been doing that for many years. And because of that, our body is so clean that I have never, ever had any of those bouts of depression or fear or sadness ever again, or even suicidal thoughts at all. And anytime, because we have been clean for so long, that anytime we might go out to eat at a restaurant, most restaurants, their food is not organic. And so we will eat non-organic food. And the next day, it will happen where we start having those thoughts again. It'll be fear. It'll be, I don't want to live my life anymore. What if I die? And then all of a sudden, it's this depressive thought pattern that causes you to go into this downward spiral where you feel like, it's the end of the world. You don't want to live anymore. You just might as well die. And really, that's coming from the pesticides. That is not coming from, oh, I've got something wrong going on in my brain, or, oh, the connections are not working in my brain, and so I need to take a pharmaceutical drug. No, it is coming from the pesticides in our food. And if you change your diet to an organic diet, you can cleanse your body of all those toxins from the pesticides, and you can remove all those negative, depressive thoughts, and you can pretty much have more of a positive outlook on life. You can have, no thoughts of negativity. And that can actually change your mental mindset in a major way. And that changed my life. That changed my mindset. And I never really struggled with that ever again. And it never was an issue until once I removed all those types of food. In the early days, 20 years ago, it was just, I removed all corn products, and I knew that if I was going to eat something, that I was aware that my mental state would be bad, the next day. Now for Chuck, for my husband, it was a completely different story for him, where when we were on our health journey and changing our diet and eating organic foods, for him, it was dairy, and we had no idea it was dairy, but we were on an organic, lifestyle. We were eating dairy, and one Thanksgiving, I made that potato casserole with, organic cheese and organic sour cream, and everything was organic, and it was, the potato casserole with the sour cream and the cheese and all that stuff. And that day was like on an instant. He was like, all of a sudden, this wave of depression and sadness came over him. And he was like, I am so sad right now. I just want to cry and I don't know what's wrong with me. And in my quick spur of the moment thinking, I was like, here, why don't you take an enzyme to help digest the lactose, right? Because not everyone can have dairy, and sometimes it's harmful on people, and sometimes people can't digest it properly. So I gave him actually some extra enzymes, and almost 15 minutes after he took those pills, within an instant, that lifted. And all of a sudden, it was like we realized, okay, he needs enzymes to eat dairy, but at the end of the day, we just cut dairy out for him, and he doesn't experience those bouts of depression. And so that could be something that you might be experiencing. It could be your diet that is causing you to have this mental breakdown. It's causing you to have those suicidal thoughts. It's causing you to feel depressed about your state of mind or state of life and not want to live, or to be fearful, or to have these thoughts where, oh my gosh, I'm going to die today. I'm going to die tomorrow. Or what if my family member is going to die? And so maybe thinking and considering about living an organic lifestyle, changing your diet, really praying and asking God, what are the foods that are causing me to be sad? What are the foods that are causing my mental breakdown? And God will show you which ones to eliminate. And it could just be all the pesticides, and you need to just eat organic diet, and that'll cure the depressive state of mind, and you won't ever have to take a pharmaceutical drug ever again. And I hope this helps. I hope you're able to learn from my experience and not have to struggle with this ever again. And I pray that God would reveal things to you and show you the truth. And have a great night.